As insensitive as the British were to even their own soldiers, they were far better off than the Boers were. Mr. Domiscer had something to say on that subject.
Now I must say this, that in spite of the Geneva Convention, the Red Cross Geneva Convention, the English took away all our ambulances and all our doctors, which was contrary to the terms of the Geneva Convention, of which they were a member, so we were members.
Who do you think was guilty of that sort of behavior?
I think it's the Commander-in-Chief. I think it was Kitchener.
Now the fighting Boers were inevitably at the end of their tether. Their farming land and cattle, etc., were destroyed, and most awful of all, some 26,000 of their women and children, and remember, out of a small total population, were dead in the British concentration camps. These thousands of still fighting Boers, the Afrikaners of today, were known as the bitter enders. They often wore sacking and rags. Long before, their famous Mauser rifles were of no use. No more Mauser ammunition was available. They now used captured British rifles and ammunition, often manufactured by Colonial Secretary Joseph Chamberlain's family at Birmingham in England. Their numerically small nation was faced with virtual genocide at the hands of the British. And not only the British, black Africans were beginning to go on a murderous rampage. Isolated and unprotected Boer women and children were savagely butchered. The Boer military leaders met at Vereniging to discuss the terrible reality. Koos de la Rey, now known as the Lion of the West, stood up, and he spoke the unadorned truth. It is no longer a question of fighting to the bitter end. This is the bitter end. Finally, the proud Afrikaner people were compelled to sue for peace. The final tussle between the Boer and the British took place here, in this very building, Melrose House, in Pretoria. Alfred Milner, the British High Commissioner, was at his cold, merciless worst. And beside him, Lord Kitchener appeared to be a relative humanitarian. And also present was the awful spirit of Joseph Chamberlain, the ultimate puppet master of Britain's empire. The Boers signed the surrender document, and their proud independence was destroyed in this room.
About 600 men gathered there. General Boer came riding up. That was about on the 5th of June. It told us all about peace, terms of peace and so on. They had to surrender arms. Officers could retain their rifles and so on. So their commander rode into Heidelberg and threw away their arms. But most of the men there said, "Surrender my rifle." Never. So they smashed them to pieces with rocks, threw them away.
And then Mr. Domiscer asked a significant and rhetorical question about why patriots can eventually defeat even a vast army of foreign occupation.
How was it possible that 20,000 Boers, without sufficient ammunition, supplies of clothing, guns, or doctors or ambulances, anything like that, could hold back the British army of 500,000 men? How is it? How do you declare it? How is it possible?
The bloody war had been fought, and inevitably the British Empire had won at a ghastly cost in human suffering, and all for British material profit.
One can almost say the war was lost at the Battle of Dundee. The war was lost at the Battle of Colenso. The war was lost at the Battle of Smolensk. Looking back, because we did not make a desperate effort to once and for all destroy the enemy once they were defeated. Too much Christianity and too much democracy was the causes which lost the war to the Boer forces.
At the foot of this memorial, the Afrikaner people of the Orange Free State buried their great president, Martin Steyn, and their great fighting general, Christian de Wet. On June the 8th, 1926, Emily Hobhouse died, and at her request, the Boers, the Afrikaner people of today, brought her remains down the South Atlantic Ocean and then here to Bloemfontein, where she joined the national heroes. A vast concourse of people attended the ceremony. The Afrikaner people mourned. The statesman, Jan Smuts, spoke the oration. We stood alone in the world, friendless among the people. The smallest nation ranged against the mightiest empire on the earth. And then, one small hand, the hand of a woman, was stretched out to us. At that darkest hour, when our race almost appeared to be doomed to extinction, she appeared as an angel, a heaven-sent messenger. And strangest of all, she was an Englishwoman. Oh, and incidentally, that Second Anglo-Boer War, I repeat, was the beginning of the end of the British Empire.
Dreads to the dead returning from that sable shore, and haughty yearning of the souls will be no more. Time was when we frowned on others, we thought we were wiser then. But now let us all be brothers, for we never may meet again. So stand to your glasses steady, 'tis all we have left to prize. Quaff a cup to the dead already, and one to the next to die.